Greeting gods and goddesses in training. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Makura, Dr. Scripps. Let's get started. How to enter flow states on command. This is something that I've been asked quite a lot because I am a flow state mystic and I choose to live my life as a peak performance shaman, okay? What does that mean? Maybe you're hearing these words for the first time. What is the flow state? The flow state is a state where you're feeling and performing at your best. It is your direct line with your higher self, and it is the state where you truly melt away this facade, this false persona, this ego of yours that doesn't really serve you at times. So when you experience that little bit of ego death, what happens? You transform, you let go. And you have to call your power back to yourself at times, okay? Because a lot of the times we get so scattered with our energies and we're giving it out constantly. We have to sometimes conserve and preserve in order to actually maintain this thing, okay? But I'm more interested in what are you doing before you sleep? What exactly are you doing before you sleep? Because that is programming this simulation that you're in. Okay, whatever you're focusing on at nighttime is going to grow in this waking life, this material world. So we enter that alpha theta bridge when we go to sleep. But also, it's important to note the 3-finger technique. Okay, also entering flow state on command. So what do? You put on headphones or headsets, and you basically are putting yourself into a hypnosis state. Okay, this is self-hypnosis. So you enter this state for 5-10 minutes, you listen to the music, the alpha waves. You just type it into YouTube, alpha waves, and just start listening to it, and make sure that your eyes are facing kind of 20 degrees up. The way you can understand this is you're trying to look up at your eyebrows as your eyes are still closed, okay? And you're maintaining that state. Now you're gonna tell yourself, as I count backwards from 10, I will now enter my deep state. You go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then by the time you get to 1, this complete bliss, excitement, positivity, upward spiral energy, let's say, for example. And I will anchor this with 3 fingers, starting now. And then you start, and then you go do that. And then you press these 3 fingers together and prime it in. You keep this for like 30 seconds or so, okay? And then you let it go, okay? And then you can fall asleep easily. You can do this as a practice before sleep, or you can also do it throughout the day. There's no specific rule like that, but it is more easily adjustable before sleep because you will get sleepy, because you are putting yourself into a more relaxed wakefulness. Of course, I love being in alpha waves throughout the day. It just helps me function at times. I like being in that relaxed, alert state, you know? I don't want to be too lazy in my state. I don't want to be too sluggish, and I don't want to be so amped up that I'm like fizzing myself out with my energy. So I like to keep that wave going, okay? That waveform flowing throughout my day. So now, whenever you press these 3 fingers together, you can also make that command back then, right? So whenever I press these 3 fingers together, I will activate the state of flow, okay? And now you have this maneuver, okay? You've hacked your brain, you've reprogrammed your consciousness, and you now have given special access, right? Your subconscious mind has now granted you access to this particular anchor. So this is your flow state trigger. Now you can also stack this, and I'm an artist with this, so I will go all the way in, right? I don't give a fuck. So I will take this particular gesture now and stack it with what? Things that remind me of my zone. Things that remind me of my optimal state of flow. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm a basketball player, I'll look at like LeBron James, you know, Kevin Durant or something, you know. I'll watch them play, and I will get an understanding of their gestures, their movements, or whatever as I'm holding this mudra. This is a very powerful tech because now you're stacking this with all of these different images of winning and success, and it's basically like you've now, you have antennas towards your higher self, and you're feeding your higher self imagery to get inspired by it. So you're like, you're sending an image, you're sending another image, right? You could even do this by counting money, right? So you 1, 2, 3, you look at the note. 4, you look at the note. 5, okay? And you really start getting into the habit of doing practices like this. Like for instance, this one exercise that I taught you, some people are gonna do it for like 30, 40 days. Other people are gonna try it once and then just leave it. And I think that's what the main difference for somebody who's a real like flow state Jedi is they experiment until the bitter end with it, until they can't squeeze any juice out of it anymore, the tech, right? Like that's at least how I think. I love to maximize and just, hey, why not expand it to its greatest capacity and version, right? If it's possible, if it's feasible, if it's acceptable, then why not? Okay, why not? That's the question. We've got to start analyzing ourselves very differently when we come down to this. There are other flow state peak performance coaches out there, but really, you got to learn from somebody who's been in this game for a while, man. Like, I've been doing this since maybe 2016 or something. So I've been doing this since like 2016 or whatever, like 8 years or whatever. Like, man, that's wonderful to recognize because I've got skin in the game, right? I remember one of these first times when I hired a coach, his name was Zach Dixon, and I was so pissed, bro, because I had realized that I had paid only for a month of his coaching for $2K. And then I was like, we ended the month and he was like, give me another payment of $2K. And at that time, I like didn't have the money, you know, even the $2K, I probably like, you know, borrowed from my parents hoping I would make it back or whatever. But that was like my first investment into coaching. Think about it. Like, that's nuts to me, right? Now, if you go to Zach Dixon, if you go to his page, right, you'll see him. He's the man, right? He's doing his shit. He knows, he understands law of attraction. Actually, he was one of the few people where I started to resonate with the understanding that the internal world actually changes the external world, right? So what I did a few days ago, I think actually yesterday I did this, I've actually been releasing a lot of my abundance blocks, and I realized this was one of them. So I zoomed into it, right, like a magnifying glass, and I started to pick it apart. And then I started to write, I think he might even watch this video. So I'm reading straight from this, okay? So what I did is, I did Ho'oponopono with this guy's character, okay? I did Ho'oponopono, which, what does that mean? Ho'oponopono means making things right. That's its authentic meaning. So if you ever feel like I need to make things right with someone, you need to do this exercise to tap you into your flow state on command, because that might be damming up the reservoir of your chi. Your meridian points are blocked because you're blocking your expression. You're repressing everything inside. You're holding grudges about a person. And this is never going to be a healthy dynamic. So I said, thank you for being one of the very first coaches I hired. I'm sorry for judging you as just another law of attraction guy. I didn't know you had the depth of information you did. Please forgive me for viewing you as a celebrity instead of a human being. I love you for sticking to your values and teaching people to free themselves from their soul-sucking jobs. Thank you for inspiring me when I was at my lowest. You gave me some transference of your charisma when we worked together, which really helped my journey. I'm sorry I thought you were a scammer because you offered a very large price, which was out of my price range at the time. I was still in scarcity at that point of my journey. I love you for expressing yourself and being so polarizing and speaking about taboo topics so openly. Please forgive me for projecting onto you because you are part of my golden shadow and you intimidate me. Thank you for teaching me about not sabotaging my financials and raise my financial thermostat. I'm sorry for judging you to be like every other coach who just does it for the money. Please forgive me for not following through on your inner work instructions all the way through. I could have pushed myself more to understand how I was going as within, so without. I was being disingenuous, and I ask for your forgiveness because I didn't know any better during that time. I didn't see how just running and meditating could help my finances expand. Thank you for remaining fresh and powerful every piece of content. Okay, and I kept going like this. So thank you. Please forgive me. I love you. I'm sorry, right? So these 4 statements, they give emotional spikes in your mind. They're reservoirs of deep energy. And that's where the repressed energy hides, in these statements. When we haven't said them, when we think our ego is too big to forgive somebody or apologize, or we start to hold that gunk inside of ourselves, and we start to become like the people that we're holding resentment for. Okay? So if you're like, fuck that guy, you're gonna become that guy. Okay? If you're like, that person intimidates me, guess what? You're gonna be thinking about them all the time. Why? This is a game of psychological dominance, my friends. Somebody who's psychologically dominating you right now, they are in your thoughts more than others. So you have to create a sovereign mental unit, a system where you can enter 0 and 1. If you ever look at the image of the Akashic egg, my friends, have you ever seen the image of the cosmic egg? It is literally binary code. 0, the egg, and then the 1, the serpent wrapped around the egg. They're giving you the clues here, guys, but we're not looking at the occult information. We're not understanding from that lens. But let Primal Sutra remind you that you can use a fresh pair of eyes to see a whole new world. A whole new na. Shout out to Aladdin, because I pretended to be that motherfucker once when I got a bully intimidating me. He called me Aladdin, I said a whole new world, okay? That was my response, because why? Because I don't give a fuck. You're trying to be racist to me like that? Bro, I want to be an Agrabah talking to a genie right now. That's a compliment, son. He said, go and fly away on your magic carpet. And I remember I had a crush on his sister, right? This was way back, like middle school. And him and his friends would come around trying to intimidate. They never did anything to me. They never beat me up, but they would just kind of stare me down and call me names, right? And I would just ignore it, bro. And I would honestly just ignore it, bro, because I was like, why am I giving this attention, okay? If I'm not a threat to your sister, right? If I'm not being disrespectful, like, what's the problem? You get what I mean? Like, I get it, you're being a protective older brother or whatever, but at the same time, you don't know who you're messing with. Because the tech and the skills that I have right now can probably break apart anybody psychologically, even myself. And that's why I'm scared of my own tech, of my own capacity to be able to do this thing at a grand level now. I understand that I am myself pushed outwards. So those versions of me were actually calling me that because it needed me to realize something within myself. And I think this is exactly the clue that I need on my weight maintenance journey. Like, if I want to be leaner, I've got to understand I used to be called Sumo. Like, Sumed is my name. They used to call me Sumo as a nickname, as an insulting nickname. Honestly, I should have set my boundaries during that time, you know? But I just kind of took it as a joke and blah, 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 you know? I didn't even know how to put my foot down or confront somebody. Right? I was completely under the conditioning and brainwashing that I have to be this kind, polite, nice dude all the time, right? And I think, honestly, if we get so suppressed and caged as children growing up, sometimes we just leave home and then we just, we break apart, we start flying or something, right? So we got to understand how to maintain our own sense of self-worth, our own state, our own conduct, right? Our own character. All of that was like a side quest, okay? But back to the point at hand. Getting into flow state on command is as easy as putting 3 fingers together, okay? But it's according to how you prime yourself and how you actually do this thing. Think about this. This is also kind of Gyan Mudra in a sense, right? Gyan Mudra is just like this, but this is just like this, okay? So you're just adding one extra element to it, and like this. And this has actually been shown to download spiritual information and wisdom from whatever it is that you're viewing and perceiving. So you can, I would even say try it like this, because at least you can send the antenna out. This is usually a sign of receiving, right? So if you want to do it like that instead, I highly recommend that. But if you like just this version too, and you really want to focus on pressing them in to embed those commands in, then go and do that too, okay? But yeah, this is a very, very powerful technology, so use it at your own caution, with your own risk. If you need further techniques or how to expand this to a next level, we have the Primal Sutra Mystery School. We're teaching mystics, right, how to really create their own spiritual path working with their most dominant chakra, right? Maybe you were born enlightened. You're just, your third eye and crown chakra is just like buzzing as soon as you were like 9 years old or whatever, right? I'm gonna coach you very differently than somebody who's a root chakra individual, is grounded, you know, money making, you know, hustle, entrepreneurship, getting embodied, right? That's a different mentality. But what I've done recently, I've combined my root chakra deity with my crown deity, and that's been bam, 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 right? Using cyber shamanism, I've now been able to fuse in my mind those two beings of the tiger energy and the alien energy together, Osmosis and Chief Deno, if you're familiar with the channelings and the path working, okay? So check out this image, okay? Very powerful. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching and listening. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. May we never be the same again. Us, hit that like and subscribe. You already know we're here to win. Us.